Hello, and welcome. It's me again. It's Joy Ruffin, coming to you from the Sunshine State, Florida. I don't know if it's good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, and maybe to some of you, good night, but wherever you are, welcome. It's always good to have you here. Every Wednesday night at 7 p.m., leading ladies, leaving legacies, living legacies, we bring you phenomenal guests. Tonight's no exception. Who out there is not interested in relationship marketing? Ooh, you can't say no. Everybody's interested. And tonight we have the queen of relationship marketing and so much more. Our guest tonight, Erica Castner, is going to share with you a lot of tips and tools and information that's going to benefit you in more ways than you can even imagine at this point in time. My friend, I could go on and on and on sharing with you her background, which is so impressive. I mean, she has been at this for over 2 decades. You won't believe it when you see her. And she's worked with some of the leading national, international companies: Lancome, Victoria's Secret, Dress for Success, Hertz Corporation, and so many more. I'm not going to go on and on. I'm going to invite Erica over right here and now, and I want you to say hello and welcome, my ladies out there. Welcome to her. Erica, so nice to have you here. Welcome.
Hi, Joy. I'm super excited to be here tonight. Thank you so much for having me.
It's my honor to have you here. I am the one who's super excited and honored because your topic and what you have over 2 decades, nobody's going to believe that, Erica, to discuss with us is right up my alley. I want to hear any, every, and all things that you can share with us about relationship marketing. And I know there's more to you than that. But tell us how you came to do this and why you love what you're doing so much. Share with us a little bit about your background. And
yeah,
then
and then what?
And
Sorry,
then story. That's okay.
Yeah, so thank you for that question. So, I actually, to give you the Cliff Note version of the story, as you alluded to in that lovely introduction of me, I started my career over 20 years ago behind a Clinique counter. I thought that back in the day when I was, building a career for myself, wanted to plant my stamp on society, I really was tied to makeup and cosmetics, and only because for most of my life, the beginning part of my early years, I never really felt pretty enough. I never really felt connected enough to people. And I thought, the one thing that would really pull me out of my shell would be to play in makeup, right? I mean, like, who doesn't want to feel good, feel fabulous, especially with luxury skincare and makeup items?
Sure.
And then what a cool way to engage with a clientele and build rapport. And I wasn't really thinking on that deep level back then. But I think if you went back and, in terms of where I'm at today, connecting the dots, I feel like on some level I truly felt that way. So that was when I initially started. And then one thing kind of led to another. I wanted to grow with the company, and there were other managers within the department store arena that saw another path for me. And so I moved around cosmetics, and then eventually moved into managing clothing stores. And that was a really unique experience as well too, because again, dressing and helping people kind of connect with their, not only what they felt good with, but really telling a story on the outer world and really presenting themselves in such a way that really made people feel powerful and confident and strong. And so flash forward to today and what I do with the coaching space and really helping people identify the right relationships for business growth. I think all of those things in the cosmetic world and the retail space really kind of led me to where I'm at today in terms of just being able to build that rapport with people, network, build relationships, understand where my next career path was going to go. All of that happened because I built relationships with my clientele and people that were ultimately going to put me in those positions. So I'm sure we'll dig into on a deeper level how relationship marketing really does affect our viewers tonight. But I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here, Erica. There's no doubt about that. And I love all of the things that you said. And by the way, you never know what you have in common with people. Many, many moons ago, I started with Clinique too as a freelance makeup artist. And
awesome.
So I get what you're talking about. But let's go on to how I heard all of the things about building relationships and getting to know people. And then you decided to work with people to help them to pep up their sales pipeline,
Yeah.
building relationships. How did you come to that? When did you start doing that more or less?
Yeah, so that shift happened in 2005. My roots were from the Midwest. I'm from
Yes.
a small town in Illinois. Moved to Southwest Florida. So it's nice that we've got a fellow female in the house from fellow Florida. I love it. I think everybody's hating us right now because it's like negative.
Yes.
As we're recording this, it's like negative, 20 everywhere else. But I moved to Southwest Florida in 2005 and really wanted to pull away from retail. At that point I was 11 years in my journey and thought, you know what, I really want to challenge myself in a different way. And I was fortunate to land a position of all places. This is going to sound totally random, but of all places with a title insurance company. And my number one job there at that title insurance company was to go out into the community and let people know that we existed. And we had, at the time, construction was booming. Title insurance, if anybody doesn't know, it's basically the thing that you get when you buy property, right? To make sure that, it's very boring stuff. But my job was to go out there and tell the world, or tell Southwest Florida, how we were different, how we were going to help them in that real estate transaction. And that, Joy, oh my gosh, that was something that was so foreign to me, because to go out and try to be in other people's spaces and try to engage in a conversation when I was coming into their space. In the retail world, they were coming into my space. These multi-million-dollar marketing campaigns, they did 90% of the work for me. Once they got into the store, it was just a matter of me asking enough questions, figuring out what they needed, and pointing them in the right direction. Now, working in the title insurance business, it was a totally different ballgame. And from there, I was able to, I got a really amazing opportunity to work for a local chamber of commerce. And that, Joy, really gave me almost like a backstage pass into for so many businesses. And again, I was inquisitive. I needed to know, because they were coming to me to help. And I was like, well, I don't know how to help these people unless I ask questions. And so from there, I just started evolving into, you know what, if one person needs this, I got to go out and find other people to help them fill in the gaps. Because if I don't know it, I've got to learn other people. I've got to relate to other people in order to connect the dots.
Yes. I love what you're saying, Erica, because what I'm hearing, sometimes you have to listen to what you're hearing underneath the words. And what I'm hearing, and this is how you came somewhat to begin to help people, your clients, to find their ideal market.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm hearing somewhat too, going out into this unknown territory, so to speak, and exchanging and sharing information and listening. You were able to help people to find their ideal client, because I'm sure that many of the people in our audience today, and those who will come for the replay, they want to hear and know more about how you find your ideal client. So tell us a little bit more in relationship marketing, how you came to that.
So I going back to my chamber days, the very aspect of not having somebody walk into the Chamber of Commerce and say, I want to grow my business. And so from there, I would have to ask the question, okay, so what would that look like for you? And, everybody's going to be different. But if you start thinking about a professional service provider, for instance, you and I are both professional service providers. I imagine a lot of our audience tonight are, they don't sell a widget, right? They don't sell something that you can like touch and experience. And there's this intangible thing. So a lot of it was just being able to say, okay, so if let's just say, a coach needed to go out there and build their business. Well, who is already talking in a coach's realm? Like, who could they build a relationship with that is already talking marketing to their ideal client? More than likely, it's going to be a business attorney, depending on what medium of coaching that they're in, right? If they're a business coach, a business attorney, a CPA, a wealth advisor to some degree. So it's just identifying people that are already marketing and already have a relationship with your clientele, instead of us expending a lot of energy trying to find that person, that needle in the haystack. It's a little more strategic. It allows us to really authentically build a relationship with somebody we're going to mutually benefit. Because ideally, if you're going to expect a referral from or an opportunity to for a connection from that person, you want to be sure that you're primed and positioned to be able to do the same for that person. But it's just thinking about your industry. And so I use that coaching example, for instance, but think about anybody that's watching this tonight, think about your industry and think about the 3 to 5 industries that are already talking to or marketing to your potential client, and see how you can build strategic alliances and collaborations from those people, as opposed to trying to do it all by yourself.
Yes, indeed. And that leads me to this question, which is going to be vital for each and everyone who's out in the audience now and those to come later. What's the number one mistake that you find most of the people who are in this business make, meaning online marketing? What's the number one area that they really need more assistance and guidance with?
You know, whether it's online or offline, I find the biggest mistake that coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs, service providers make is that they assume that everybody is their client.
Yes.
So if they start thinking, and then here's the other thing too. So even if they drill down who their ideal client is, immediately, like the biggest mistake is to start engaging in conversations with that person as if they need your service right away. People will be so turned off by that. I mean, even if they do need your service, it's poor judgment on our part to assume that for a moment that it's almost intrusive to be thinking, oh, I know that you probably need my service, but I've seen it happen before too early in my speaking career. Like, I would have people literally who were speaking coaches come up to me after the fact, and they would say, that was a really good job, but I can help you. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Like, I thought I did a really good job, or perhaps maybe I'm working with somebody. So the biggest mistake, if we could just take a step back, identify who your true ideal client is, and then once you do, stop talking to people as if they need your services right away. If you build rapport, build relationship, build affinity with anybody that is predominantly, potentially your client, they will warm up to you. And of course, you can lead them down the path and get them to call to actions. But if we automatically start assuming that people are going to be our clients, that's where we could get some resistance, and in a not a good way.
I think you might have answered my next question to you, which is, what would be one of the best tips that you can give a person to help them to find their best ideal client?
Yeah, well, so I'm glad you asked that question, because there's a little bit of a deeper process. So, again, the way and this is going to sound a little lofty, but I think just to generalize this and really put it into perspective for a lot of different people that might be watching, a lot of it boils down to, okay, so if you were a service provider, if tomorrow I was going to strip away every ability to help everybody except for the one type of person that you absolutely adore to help. So like for a lot of, and I'll put it into this coaching context, Joy, if that's okay.
Sure.
So I think for a lot of coaches, like, we feel like there's so many people we can help, and we want to truly help as many people as possible. But if we could think about, okay, is there a specific demographic of a person we really want to help? And Joy, I love how you have really narrowed it down to women. You really want to help empower and inspire women to really tap into like their eternal greatness to help other people do the same thing, right? So
Yes.
if we could even whittle that down even further and say, okay, well, what do those women look like? What do they do professionally? What do they struggle with? Like, specifically, what do they struggle with that you want to be able to help? And we got to think about one specific person. And I know that's going to sound counterintuitive for people that want to help a lot of people. But if we think about like the person, like, again, if tomorrow I was going to strip every ability for you to help everybody else on the planet except for this one person, describe that person, understand, what is it that they struggle with, understand like what is it that you are going to be able to help them with, and how are you going to be able to help them. It helps you really dial in. It doesn't mean that like tomorrow I'm going to take that ability away from you. Number one, I'm not going to do that to anybody. But the other piece is, like, it doesn't mean that, somebody that doesn't quite fit that demographic, if they landed in your path, it doesn't mean you have to turn them away either. But it just allows you to be more focused and more streamlined in terms of the relationships you're going to build with the people that are already talking with them, and how you're talking about your services in general. So,
Erica,
yeah.
that ties in, I think, to something else that I'm thinking. you've answered it, but I think we can delve a wee bit deeper.
Yeah.
That ties into where are they hanging out? What you said this in a different verbiage. What are they doing? You said, what do they not so much look like, but what are their actions and deeds, and what are they struggling with? Where do we find them, and how do we go about finding them? I'm sure some of the people in the audience are going to want an answer to that, because there are Facebook ads, which everybody knows, but if you don't know your target audience and where to find them, so you have to narrow it down to that degree. Yeah.
Yep, yeah. I totally get it. Yeah. So again, online, offline. I love to speak to it offline as well, because I feel like the online really supports what we're doing offline, but we really need both of them together. Again, it goes back to being able to identify the people that are already talking to your client. So in the example that I gave earlier, where, a business coach, let's say, they're going to want to know CPAs, business attorneys, wealth advisors. So when I mean, where are those people hanging out? I mean, where are those people hanging out? So generally, if you're trying to get in front of a bunch of attorneys in this example, and you might be in front of different people, but if you're trying to get in front of attorneys, why not partner with your local bar association? Why not partner with I'm sure in many communities, there's a young professionals lawyers association. There's certain groups that are going to make people that you want to get in front of, they're going to gather those people organically. And so if you can find a way to either join that association as an associate member or an affiliate member, or even if you can't, most bar associations, I can't be a member because I'm not an attorney, but if I could show up and sponsor or be an investor for one of their speaking or events or one of their education events, I'm all about that, because then it positions my brand and it might give me 5 minutes on the stage to talk about how I can help that audience. So yeah, it's just really going back to, again, thinking about those strategic partners. The other thing about this too, Joy, is if you know the client you want to serve, and if you know that there is a group or a conference or some sort of organized event that is attracting that demographic of people, find a way to speak on that platform. And sometimes that's easier said than done, because a lot of people have their agendas. But, I've been so bold because I knew who I was after. I mean, I knew who I wanted to help. I knew who I wanted to serve. So I knew the topics that I would be delicious for them, they would eat that up. So I would just position those topics in front of those event organizers and say, hey, I would love to, be able to share value with your audience. So that's another way to build rapport and build know, like, and trust factor if you already know your audience and you know that they're hanging out at a particular conference or workshop.
Okay, Erica, here's what I heard. And it all is in sync with my mindset. Align yourself with connecting groups, associations that are servicing in one way or another the target audience, the ideal client that you want to go for. Yeah. And then once you've done that, I also heard, or did I, correct me if I'm wrong, offer your services to them at a premium, free, maybe, if that's called for, so that you can get in and find out more about your ideal audience. Because even though you might have your list of ideal whatever for them, you could be missing something. So it's good to go in and find out and ask. Did I hear that?
Yeah, you absolutely did. Speaking, honestly, here's the thing. I mean, speaking on live streams or speaking on podcasts or speaking at local events, even, especially if you're going to be tapping into your potential referral partners and your obviously your clientele, those are great ways for you to engage in real time and get real time feedback for the things that you're offering in terms of your services.
I love that about speaking, because for me and for you, regardless to the work that you're doing, you consider yourself a professional speaker. So you like to get out in front of people to share your gifts, tools, and knowledge. You have something that you sent me, Erica, that I really want to speak to, and I know that the audience want to hear this as well. You said you have a list of 8 ways to get in front of influencers and decision makers. Now, decision makers we've always had, but this word influencers is becoming a more popular buzzword. So what are the 8 ways that we can get in front of these influencers and decision makers? What is your list of 8 things? Because people are going to want to know this and hear this. So share with us about that, would you?
Yeah. So, so just kind of foretelling, I want to be able to gift that list to your audience, if I may, Joy. And I want to speak to 2 in particular that I think get overlooked, and they're super easy. I mean, these are things that essentially, even after this live stream or after they watch this session tonight, they can take the next steps to do these things. So we touched on speaking, and that's part of it. But the other 2 that I want to share is, number 1, masterminding. So finding an opportunity to, going back to, okay, if you know 3 to 5 people or 3 to 5 industries that are talking to your clientele, what I love to do, and this is something that I just tested back in 2015 when I first launched my company, I actually invited 20 women. It was out of control to do 20 women. But I ended up, once I started kind of finding my rhythm, I found that, somewhere between 5 and 8 people that are already talking to your ideal client, and that they're people that you can ultimately help and support. If you organize either a monthly coffee or a quarterly coffee, you could do it over a cocktail if that's your preference. But I like doing things over tea and coffee, getting it done, energizing my day. What I love doing about a little round table like that is I ask 2 questions at this event, bar none. These are the 2 questions I'm almost asking, sorry, let me slow down, always asking this group of people. Number 1, what is your current area of focus? And how can I help you with that focus? Very simple questions, right? So if we have 5, even if we have like 3 to 5 people sitting at that coffee date, you invite 8, you have 4 that show up, you can accomplish so much by asking those 4 people sitting in front of you, hey, what's your current area of focus? And how can I support you in that goal? And you'll be surprised at how much feedback you'll get from the people that are sitting at that in that roundtable discussion, and the energy that you will be able to give to those people. I've been doing this now, like I said, these little roundtables. I've been organizing them since 2015. I just had one. Ironically, I just had one last night, and it was so funny because there were 2 women in particular that I just knew that there was no way that they would ever meet like on their own, path, because they're doing 2 different things. But because I brought them into that center of influence, and they're people that I knew I could help, they could help me. But because I brought them together, the 2 of them today are the best of friends. And this just happened like in November. Like this wasn't something, the first time I invited these 2 women together, I invited them in November. And of course, we're recircling back in January. And they have accomplished so much stuff in like a short amount of time together because of that connection. So what masterminding is, if you can coordinate that, it helps you look like the authority, and not just in your space, but you start looking really like you're the go-to resource for just about everything. And you don't really have to work much harder than you already are, but you're bringing people that you value, like, and trust together. And that's monumental for people who are trying to do the same thing.
I love that. I love that for numerous reasons, but basically because you are the queen of relationship marketing. And that's a prime example of how you build healthy, strong relationships. I think that's fantastic. All right, let's continue.
Okay, so that's one. The second one, and this is actually going to seem like it's a little counterintuitive, but it's actually volunteering. So one of the biggest gifts that I was given when I worked for the title company way back in the day, when I was getting into this whole aspect of, what can I do to build relationships outside of retail? I was assigned a number of different volunteer or nonprofit organizations to go be on a committee to do XYZ. At one point, I was on the board for something. And what I love about volunteering is that not only are you serving, you're probably sharing you're passionate about something, and you're sharing that passion with other people that feel the same way, and they're committed to that cause. But you start aligning with other influencers in the community, like on a local level. You start identifying local influencers, people that are already doing amazing things in the community, who probably have an awesome network. And as you're building your network, now I always so put this caveat out there. Don't ever go into the intention of saying, oh, I'm going to join this nonprofit board because I want business. But if you can go in and say, look, how can I show up and serve? Like beyond just helping the mission of this nonprofit organization, how can I serve this collective, these other professionals or other people that might be involved, beyond, because they have passions outside of the nonprofit. Like, how else can we play together? And I have to tell you that because I was involved with a number of different nonprofits, a lot of nonprofit organizations, they would actually say, hey, you're doing such a good job volunteering. I hear you're a coach. Could you help us facilitate one of our programs? And, it would open up the door for the nonprofit because they would be able to find grant money for me to come in, and I would, get that opportunity to facilitate a program and continue the work on a deeper level with them. But then
I love what you just said. I'm interjecting and interrupting for a reason.
That's quite right.
I think oftentimes, many of us, some of us, most of us, we forget that no matter what the business is, we are in the business of how can we serve? How can we support and help, aid, and assist you to get to where you want to go? The bottom baseline is service.
Yes.
And oftentimes we forget that. And I love the way you expressed and explained volunteering and going in and offering your services and how that in turn can be very profitable for you. Yes, I get that.
Yeah. And you again, you're meeting, so that, well, what's interesting is, so, generally, if I'm in a capacity where I'm facilitating, like, let's just say for that example, if I'm facilitating for a nonprofit organization or the program, chances are maybe a board member or two who might work for a larger organization, they might see me in action. And then, that's how I've been able to, gain those additional opportunities, because somebody just said, hey, I wonder if you could do something similar for my organization. So, you never know. And it doesn't, if you're not a speaker, don't worry about it if that's not your profession. But how can you show up? And I love what you said, Joy, be of service. How can you be of service, number one? And then, organically, how can you show up and support the other people that are hanging out? You have that common thread because they're all committed to that passion. So naturally, you're going to have some good conversations. So just be prepared to have those conversations. But again, don't necessarily go into it thinking, what kind of opportunities am I going to get by being involved? I mean, you go and you figure it out from there. And
I think that many times, Erica, that when people are starting out on online or offline, I heard what you said earlier, and I agree with you there. Sometimes many people forget that you are offering a service. It's about making money. Yes, they're all business people, but if your bottom line isn't about being of service, helping, aiding, and assisting that person to grow and to the best that they can be, then your business ultimately, sooner than later, will fail. And that's why people continue to do things over and over and over and start new businesses, because what they were doing didn't work and they didn't get the base premise, which is service. You have to serve people, be of service to them. All right, we're up to number 2. What's number 3?
So number 3, I caution, I'm going to throw this in there again. I don't want to throw it at anybody, but I want to put it in there again and really spotlight it again. The importance of being able to share your message for free. I know for a lot of people, especially if they're wanting to eventually build their brand and do books, write books and speak. Sometimes it seems like, oh, I should be paid for that, and I like, that would be the expectation, right? That, we would be paid for those services. I highly recommend, still to this day, I will still speak for free in a number of organizations. Now, I don't give away the whole farm. Like, if they're requiring me to do a significant day's workshop, that's a different story. But, if somebody's wanting to invite me onto their platform for 20 or 30 minutes and provide immense value, and then being able to deliver immense value and then just slip in at the end, like how people can continue the conversation with me. I don't even drop an offer. I just say, look, this is how we can continue the conversation. If you loved anything that I said, let's continue the conversation. And I always end with it.
That's a call to action, because you're asking them to connect with you. And then if they want more data, their call to action is misconstrued, I think, by many people. It's not always about buy, 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 buy. It's
Exactly.
connect with me so I can support and aid and assist you as you go further on your journey. So I like that. Very good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just saying, like I would love to continue the conversation, and this is the line that I generally use a lot, and I truly mean it. But it's a line that we could all use in any interaction that we're having. So whether you're speaking from the stage or whether you're on a quick call with somebody to get to know their current areas of focus, is literally saying to that audience or that person, "Hey, I'd love to continue the conversation. Learn your current areas of focus and how I can support you." And I mentioned that earlier when I was talking about the roundtable.
Turn it off.
It's one of those things that's going to stop people dead in their tracks. They're going to be like, "Oh my goodness, I'm not expecting that," right? And if they are like they're prepared to answer that question, they can tell you, they can guide you on what they need next. And then you can, from there, figure out what it is that you need to do to step in and guide them. So, if you always ask that question, "Hey, what is your current area of focus and how can I support you?" Or you can even just leave it as an open-ended statement. "I'd love to learn a little bit more about you and your current areas of focus and how I can support." It just invites a lot of people to approach you and be authentic about it. Don't, again, try not to go in with this dubious agenda of saying, "I'm going to close this person because they're talking to me." Really, there's a whole process in terms of how to really do that from an art form. But that's the start, is really just engaging and how can I help you? Where can we continue the conversation?
And being interested, and they can see it in your eyeballs, in them, and really wanting to be of service and help them. And people can see that. They know that. They know when you're not authentic and real and all of that. Erica, the time flies. We're only up to number 8.
I know. You know what? If we don't get through all 8 of them, I promise I'm going to guide people to let them know where they can get the entire list of all 8. So, how many more can we fly through, my friend?
Well, I think we maybe have 5 more minutes. So let's see how many more you can do here. I don't like to go over 35.
I hear you.
The point is, as much as it can be interesting and thrilling, people have so much to do and so on and so forth, they fade out. But let's do 2 more, and then we'll add the others onto this broadcast so that they'll be able to get them. Or I'll put up all of your information is here, and they can contact you. But let's go through a couple of more. Yeah. We're up to 3, so let's get up to 5.
Okay. So, another one is, it kind of goes hand in hand, but anytime you can get on another person's live stream or another person's podcast, it's a great way for you to get in front of other people's audiences. But more importantly, before you even start thinking about the masses that you're going to serve in that capacity, what I love about being able to be like, Joy, what I'm super excited about is, now I'm on your show. We're lifelong friends now, right? I mean, you've given me this amazing gift. So it's now, how can I show up and serve? And so if you are putting yourself out there, this is addressing our audience, if you're positioning yourself in front of opportunities to either be on a guest podcast, one of the ways that you can find that really easily, there's a person that I know, his name is Andrew Elliman. He's got a list called, and that's probably how we might have connected initially for Andrew. He's got an amazing tool that is free for anybody to subscribe to it, but he does 6 guests and 6 opportunities to be a guest, right? Or I think I'm getting that wrong, but 6 ways that you can to be on somebody's show, and 6 people that want to be on your show. So if you have a podcast, it's a great way for you to get guests and get a glimpse of people that are doing great things that you want to talk to and you want to communicate with. And on the other side of it, if you want to, that's
a great tip, Erica, because that's how I connected with you, because I'm always looking for fascinating, interesting guests who are not only supporting and helping other people in whatever business they're in, but they're sharing their gifts, talents, and tools. So Andrew Ellman is a great one for people to connect with. So that's great.
Podcastguest.com. Just a nice shout out to Andrew and all the work that he's doing. But you know what? Even if you feel like that's not the list for you, one of the ways that I initially started podcasting was I had a podcast myself, and that opened up a door for me to invite and encourage people to come onto my show. And I'll authentically, there were people that just they were like, hey, come on to my show. So that's a great way to do that. The other thing I wanted to share, Joy, is the aspect of we talked about this a little bit, but being very intentional with strategic partnerships. So again, not to sound like a broken record, but thinking about those 3 to 5 industries that are already talking to your ideal client and building some sort of relationship with them where you can refer them, you can gain referrals from them. So don't be afraid to reach out to LinkedIn. Don't be afraid to reach out to even your Facebook communities if you know that that's where they're hanging out. And then also don't be afraid to go out in person, in real life. People want to, I find that most of my network was built in real life. And then my online stuff just supported all of that. So it made me almost look like I was omnipresent, but those strategic partnerships will save you in the long run.
That's a great way to end, my friend, because for me, and I never surmise or suppose for someone else, I think probably for you too, yay or nay, you can get back to me. None of us know any, every, and all things. And it's good to have those strategic partnerships because what you lack, someone else has. Mm-hmm. So you're always connecting with people that you can help and support, guide them, and vice versa. It's a mutual admiration society because none of us come here with everything. And the more you share your gifts and tools, the more comes back to you. This is wonderful. Listen, my love, I don't know where the time goes. I say this every week. It just flies. And especially when the topic is so interesting and there's so much stuff to go on. But you're going to make sure that you give me the other 3 because there were 8, right?
Yep.
And in turn, I will list those. And then this will go out and you'll be able to get the link and so on. Is there anything that you want to end with that I didn't ask you or that you want to share with us before you say so long for now? I don't like goodbyes.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. I'm going to keep it really short and simple. Start chasing impact. Stop chasing the dollar. When you go out there and you're building an impact, you're building rapport, you're engaging in relationships, the business will grow, your presence will grow, but focus on the impact, chase impact, stop chasing the dollar.
I don't think there's a better way to end because for me, it's all about impact and presence because my work as an image consultant is much more than just all of this. So much more goes into that impact and presence. And there's so much more involved. Erica, you are the queen of relationships and the queen of results. I know this just knowing it because I'm a karmic intuitive person. I cannot thank you enough. You said you're honored to be here. I'm honored to have you. I'm going to ask you to just step to the side for a brief moment while I say so long for now to the audience. And then I'd like to chat with you just for a brief moment. And thank you again.
Thank you. You rock, my friend.
No. You rock. Thank you. And what can I say? Here we go. The time flies. Before you know it, especially when I don't even know if I like this word, but I'm going to use it. When the conversation is good and juicy and there's all of that information that's just full of good stuff, all you want to do is just go on and on and on. And yet we all know that attention span and so much more goes into how long can you stay with one particular show, no matter how exciting and dynamic it is. And tonight, Erica Castner was just that. I'm so honored that I know her and that we've met and that we're now connected because loyalty, integrity, and all of that good stuff is so important to me. And I can see in a very brief time span whether or not it's impactful and meaningful to someone else. And Erica, it is. All of her data and all of her information is going to go up on the broadcast. What you want to do is to connect with her because her queen of relationship marketing and the queen of results, it's on point. And it's not a move that you would regret. And need I say to you, always, thank you, my loyal and faithful, for being here. Nice to see you here, Judy. One of the things that I want to say is that I'm always grateful when I look out and see you here. And then when I get back and see the replay later and there's hashtag replay, because I know that everybody's busy for whatever reason. It's something that just happens. It occurs. So I'm grateful when I look out and see you here. Remember that every Tuesday night at 7:00, Style with Joy, how you discover your signature style and joy, your joy. And Wednesday nights at 7 tonight, Leading Ladies, Leaving Legacies, Living Legacies. I'm always honored and happy to see you here. I hope you'll have a grand weekend. I'm wishing you all the best always. Do stay tuned. Until the next time, you be and stay well. Take care of you first and then you'll be able to look after many, many others. Until the next time, so long for now. Cheers.